الله الرحمن الرحيم. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Dear brothers and sisters, I'd like to start now that Brother Fard had mentioned protocol, deviates from protocol for a very obvious reason. Protocol would dictate that I would first of all address the director, my brother Mr. Sheikh Ahmed and Mr. Fard Hendricks, that I will start by addressing this blessed gathering on the blessed day by starting with Sheikh Abu Bakr Shamas. May Allah provide us all the same wisdom He had provided him by allowing him to read the Holy Qur'an the way he does, mashallah, tabarakallah. Mr. Yusuf, Mr. Fard, your Royal Highness, our fellow brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And the reason I think we started with Sheikh Abu Bakr is quite simply because we have realized that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates us by the Qur'an. And those of us that read the Qur'an the way he does and memorize the Qur'an the way we all should are obviously elevated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thus by the society as a whole. Which brings us back to the main point. We are honoring graduate students, students who have graduated simply because they have completed a course that expanded their own knowledge of not only our own religion, but simply gave us the power to argue with other religions comparing it to our great religion. And therefore we're following the very first command of Islam from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Jibreel alayhi salam commanded Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when he said to him, Iqra, and that's the first command. And that's where we Muslims must always adhere to and always strive to conclude and always to pursue. Therefore our society does thrive on knowledge, and as we've always heard, whether it's here or in other parts of the world, that knowledge is found.
On behalf of the Islamic Propagation Center International, we welcome you to the second program to honor students who have completed the 1-month training course in comparative religion. A special welcome to our distinguished guest speaker and our dear brother, Dr. Qasim Chulumpa, the Minister of Education, Sports and Culture from the Republic of Malawi. I would also like to welcome Mr. Andrew Yambo, who is the Special Assistant to the Minister and who is also present at the function today.
نحمده ونستعينه ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يريدون ليطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم والله متم نوره ولو كره الكافرون. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. First of all, let me say how grateful I am to the Board of Trustees of the IPCI and to our brother, the Director, Brother Fard Hendricks, the graduating students, and everybody else who's been able to come this evening. I was not planning to be here this evening, and when Brother Fuad called me a few days ago to find out whether I would be available, I gladly accepted the invitation. I was last in Durban in 1992 when our brothers at IDM invited me to come here and spend about a month with you, not only in Durban, but in Johannesburg, the Cape, and other places. Over the period that has passed, I thought that that trip was history until this evening. As we drove here, we stopped at some place near here, and I was being introduced by Brother Fuad to our host. He's a brother who is much younger than most of us, and Brother Fuad wanted to know whether that brother recognized me, and I'm telling you, I have been pleasantly surprised. The brother said, yes, I know him. Of course, I couldn't really believe that he knew me because I didn't recognize him. He said, no, he came here and visited us at Lokat Islami. And that was in 1992. So I am a very happy man, brother, master of ceremonies, to be with you this evening, to witness and celebrate with you the graduation of our brothers and sisters who have undergone one of the training courses at this center. As the brother, the Imam from Cape Town, was speaking here, I also remembered that there are very few of us in Southern Africa, indeed in the world, who have not been touched or inspired one way or the other by Sheikh Ahmed Deedat. And I recall that when Allah made it easy for the center to start publishing his books have been read by many, not only in South Africa here, but worldwide. So I want to join our brother Imam in praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to restore the health of the Sheikh, and more importantly, to accept his sacrifices and the magnificent work that he has done, particularly to the Muslims and those who do not know Islam. Because by opening the study of comparative religion, he has enriched us on both sides of the religious divide.
Brothers and sisters, I have pleasure in introducing our guest speaker, Sheikh Khalid Al-Mushawa. He's been in South Africa for about 8 months. He's based at the Saudi Arabian Embassy in Pretoria. He's a religious attaché there at the embassy. He holds a BA in Sharia and Islamic law. He has 4 children, and he calls himself a servant of Allah. That is all what he wanted to tell us as far as the CV goes. And we are very grateful that he has taken the trouble to come here, and it is my great pleasure and honor to call upon our brother Khalid Al-Mushawa to address you. After he finishes, Sheikh Ibrahim Farah has very kindly volunteered to translate what he has spoken. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، إنني في غاية السرور وأنا بين إخواني المسلمين في هذا البلد العطاء وفي هذا المركز الشامل الذي أسسه رجل كبير بذل الشيء الكثير للإسلام والمسلمين.
After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is very happy, Sheikh says that he is very happy to be with you in this place, in this honored place where the great Sheikh Ahmed Deedat started his dawah in.
وأسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يوفق القائمين على هذا المركز الأستاذ فؤاد ومن معه، أن يوفقهم الله سبحانه وتعالى للاستمرار في هذا العمل الكبير، ولعل من هذا الاستمرارية هو هذه الدورة التي أقاموها في مقارنة الأديان.
He's asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the management of this center, on whose head is Brother Fuad Hendricks, to succeed in their work in order to spread the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
لعل كل شخص قد أخذ نصيبه في هذه الدورة قد تحمل أمانة عظيمة وعبئا ثقيلا على ظهره، وهو تبليغ دعوة الله سبحانه وتعالى لغير المسلمين.
It is not for me. Sheikh says all those who participated in this course, they took on their shoulders a great responsibility, that is spreading the message of Islam.
إن هذا الدين، دين الإسلام، دين عظيم، قد تكفل الله سبحانه وتعالى بحفظه، وتكفل الله سبحانه وتعالى بنشره في كل أرجاء العالم. فقد قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: والله ليبلغن هذا الدين ما بلغ الليل والنهار. وقال صلى الله عليه وسلم: لا يبقى بيت وبر لا يبقى بيت وبر إلا دخله هذا الدين.
This religion is indeed a great religion, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took care of it from the very beginning of this religion by protecting it, and promised at the same time that it will reach to all four corners of this world, this planet. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the two hadiths that the Sheikh narrated now says that there will be no house, even the smallest house on earth, otherwise the message of Islam will reach to it.
In the name of God, the most gracious, the merciful.
Our distinguished guests from Zanin, distinguished lecturers who made a tremendous contribution towards the success of the course, I now call upon Sheikh to open with the rendition of the Qur'an. Jazakallah. Thank you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. واذكر في الكتاب مريم إذ انتبذت من أهلها مكانا شرقيا. واذكر في الكتاب مريم إذ انتبذت من أهلها مكانا شرقيا. فاتخذت من دونهم حجابا فأرسلنا إليها روحنا فتمثل لها بشرا سويا. واذكر في الكتاب مريم إذ انتبذت من أهلها مكانا شرقيا. فاتخذت من دونهم حجابا فأرسلنا إليها روحنا فتمثل لها بشرا سويا. قالت إني أعوذ بالرحمن منك إن كنت تقيا. قال إنما أنا رسول ربك لأهب لك غلاما زكيا. قالت أنى يكون لي غلام ولم يمسسني بشر ولم أك بغيا. قال كذلك
لنجعله آية للناس ورحمة منا وكان أمرا مقضيا. فحملته فانتبذت به مكانا قصيا. فأجاءها المخاض إلى جذع النخلة قالت يا ليتني مت قبل هذا. قالت يا ليتني مت قبل هذا وكنت نسيا منسيا. فناداها من تحتها ألا تحزني قد جعل ربك تحتك سريا وهزي إليك بجذع النخلة تساقط عليك رطبا جنيا فكلي واشربي وقري عينا فإما ترين من البشر أحدا فقولي إني نذرت للرحمن صوما فلن أكلم اليوم إنسيا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. صدق الله العظيم.
Brother Ibrahim Jatwat will talk to us about the founder of the Islamic Propagation Center International, Sheikh Ahmed Deedat, with whom he has been associated for a long time. Ibrahim Jatwat was one of the people who recommended, together with the Muslim Youth Movement, that he should be nominated for the Faisal Prize. The Faisal Prize was one of the most distinguished prizes in the Muslim world for those who render outstanding service to the Ummah and to Islam. With that introduction, I would now call upon Brother Ibrahim Jatwat to address us.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I'm very pleased to be here with you this afternoon and to share this wonderful occasion with all of you. Indeed, if we can produce the leadership for this country, if we can provide the alternative leadership, then we would have made the correct impact that Allah Rasul wants us to do in this age and time. The gathering of students who have graduated with us today are our future leaders, and we hope that in time to come, they will indeed provide us with the leadership that this country sorely needs. On this topic of the legacy of Sheikh Ahmed Deedat, I spent almost all my adult life from teenage in the company of or in the shadow of Ahmed Deedat. We shared times when we were students and we used to visit him at As-Salam, and the hospitality and kindness that he extended to all of us are memories that we can reflect on and which continues to inspire us. This morning, as I was reflecting on what I should say, a fax came through to me from a sister in which she thanks Sheikh Ahmed Deedat for what has happened to her. And I would like you to just read this now with me, because it's one of the most inspiring things that I have come across in the many things that have been read and said about him. This comes from the heart of a sister who found Islam. So share this with me. This came on my desk this morning, and I was simply fascinated that, and it was coincidental, and I thought I should share it with you before I start talking about some of the things that I remember, glimpses in the life of Sheikh Ahmed Deedat. The sister, whose first name was Tamara Ann Mudley, and she's now Tasmira Muhammad, writes this thank you note to Sheikh Ahmed Deedat, in which he says, I wish I could express the feeling in my heart. I wish I knew where to start, but the gratitude I feel transcends all speech, and the reward I should give you is beyond my reach. You've rescued me from the cold, dark sea, and for the first time I feel the sun's warm rays on me. I feel life entering my once dead soul. You've given me Islam, which has made me whole. Thank you for the Qur'an, the last revelation, and a huge brotherhood, Allah's chosen nation. Thank you for reaching out to people who are lost, whose blindness and ignorance their very souls will cost. May Allah reward you for all that you've done. May Allah bless the work you've unselfishly begun. Thank you once again for the truth of Islam. For at last my raging sea is peaceful and calm. Those of us who knew Ahmed Deedat knew of his struggle, knew of his sacrifice, and knew of the time when his wife had to make mithai and sell it so that they could make ends meet, where he was selling sheep and goat so that they could make ends meet. He left his job as a master salesman. He used to work for Victoria Furniture Mart, first as a truck driver, and later on he had the agency. And this world-class salesman left that to enter the field of Dawah. And from the moment he entered, it was nothing but sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice. For almost all his life, it was a sacrifice. Don't look at this building and what came later. For most of his life, it was a sacrifice, trying to make ends meet. I remember the times when his partner and the other side of the coin of IPCI, the late Ghulam Hussain Banker, a truly remarkable and great person, on whose life we also need to reflect, didn't have enough money to pay rent for their flat. So it was a life of sacrifice, a life in which he paid with his all. There was nothing that he could do that was not enough for the deen. And on reflecting on his life, what comes out is a person who was strong and powerful, unwavering in his commitment, who stood like a colossus. And when you think about the people that stood up and opposed him, believe me that the Christian priest feared and disliked him as much as the Sheikh and the Alim did. Think about it. As much as the Sheikhs and the Alims disliked and feared him, so did the priest and the pastors and the bishops. How could it be that ulama would fear and oppose him as much, if not more, than the priests and the pastors? Something for us to think about and to reflect. At any one time, while we look at all the wonderful things that he has created, at any one time he was fighting people and stood firm against people as close to him as you can ever imagine. I was 10 years old when I went to the city hall for the first time to listen to him. And before the lecture, Sheikh Ahmed Deedat's father gets up. Those of you who may remember this will know what I'm talking about. He gets up in front of thousands of people and he berates his son. But his father was wrong, because in the time that we are talking about, there was a worldwide anti-Muslim campaign. It was an aggression against Islam. He grew up, and most of us grew up at a time when the Western world called our religion false, called our prophet false, called the Qur'an false, and condemned us to hell, saying that only the blood of Christ will save you. So this was an aggression, it was an act of war, and it wasn't local, it was international. He met that aggression in the way that Qur'an tells us that when they fight, you fight them back until there is peace. So in all the arguments that were presented about not fighting with them, about accommodating them, about adopting a peaceful attitude, in that time, when they were telling you that your religion is false, your prophet is false, and your Qur'an is false, how could you regard that as a friendly gesture on the part of people? So Ahmed Deedat quite rightly met an aggression with an aggression. And in the time that we're talking about, he was probably misunderstood for many reasons. At any one time, it was his father, it was his brother Abdullah, and I wish he was sitting here so that I could tell him in front of his face, with a group called the Al-Mujaddid. It was the ulama, and it was Shuyukh in the Cape. It was Makki, and it was Pir Bhai. And it was a lot of other Muslims, business people especially, who didn't want to rock the boat. All of them, all together, opposing Ahmed Deedat. Leave the Christians one side. All of these people, all at one time, opposing Ahmed Deedat. What a man that he could stand up for what he believed, face all of this, and fight and fight and fight. So the first thing that I remember about Ahmed Deedat is that he was a fighter. He was a man who was committed to the jihad for Islam in the best way that he saw it. There's a rhetorical question that I want to ask you. When you go to the Arab world, whether it's the clerk in the hotel, the sweeper on the street, the cook in the hotel, the airline pilot, or the president of the country, as soon as you say South Africa, they'll say Ahmed Deedat. Do you know Ahmed Deedat? And you ask yourself, well, how did this man touch them, and why did he touch them? Because they didn't have a Christian problem. They don't have a Christian problem in the Arab world, although there are Coptic Christians in Egypt and a few in Syria and Lebanon and Jordan. But there was no Christian problem. But almost without exception, from Morocco to Syria, if you mention South Africa, they would ask you Ahmed Deedat. How did this man touch all these people, and why did he touch all of these people? I don't really know the answer, but I need you to reflect on it. What was it about him? He wasn't fighting the Christians in the Arab world, but he was certainly a person that they recognized for whatever reason as their champion. Probably more well known than any other Muslim in the world. Commonly known by almost all of the Arab people. And yet they have no Christian problem. So it's a question that we need to ask, and we need to find out why, and we need to really understand the impact that he has made on their lives. Well, the way I see it is that, and this is a thing that we all need to reflect on, that he touched the lives of all those millions and millions of Arabs, is because they are so oppressed. They have no freedom. There is no such thing as this organization in any Arab country. You will not believe it that you cannot have such a gathering in any Arab country. There are no Islamic organizations in any Arab country. It's outlawed, it's banned. And they see these things as being masterminded by people from the outside. Neo-colonialism, those that want to keep the military dictators and the reactionary monarchies in power, those that continue to dominate their lives through the proxies that they have. And here Ahmed Deedat goes to the capitals of the Western world. He goes to London and Paris and New York, stands up and challenges the Western arrogance, challenges them and humiliates them, challenges them and defeats them, challenges their arrogance and destroys the foundation of their civilization. And that is what they saw as a person, a modern day Salahuddin born, raising the flag of Islam in the capitals of the Western world. And that is what they, I think, identified with, that here is a Muslim who has the courage to go out and to present the truth of Islam to this world, to the arrogant West. Because of their oppression, because they have no freedom, they identified with him as a symbol of their freedom. There may be other views on this, but it's something worth thinking about. In looking at the glimpses in the life of Ahmed Deedat, I would like to just for 1 minute focus on where he came from, what was the environment in which he grew, where was the inspiration. If I remember as a child growing up, I had no idea of the word Dawah. It was non-existent. This word Dawah was never heard. I have yet to hear ulama speak from the minbar about Dawah. The responsibility, when you claim that al-ulama warathatul anbiya, I'm not here to criticize the ulama, you're saying that you are the true inheritors of the prophets, then the first function of the prophet was Dawah. And you never heard it. You still don't hear it. At a time when this word was not known to us, at a time when it was something that was foreign, Ahmed Deedat and those that were around him took up this this challenge of Dawah and presenting Islam to the people. So we should understand the circumstance. Today we have so many organizations that are doing the work. But at that time, there was just no atmosphere. The environment was not conducive to Dawah because it was a stranger to us. It was unknown to us. And as a consequence, what they gave to the Dawah, they gave almost as if they were doing the person who came there as a beggar, they were giving him some crumbs. There was no commitment to the Dawah. So not only was there opposition from the ulama, opposition from all those who felt that we shouldn't rock the boat, that we shouldn't attack the Christians, there was also a paucity of funds. He had to go from door to door collecting so little. If somebody had 100 rands to give a year in zakat or whatever, 95 rand would be committed to everything else, and the 5 rand may be committed to Dawah. And from that 5 rand, Pir Bhai wanted his share, Makki wanted his share, Deedat wanted his share. So they were all the time at each other's throats, trying to get the biggest share of the smallest crumb. And that is the circumstances in which Ahmed Deedat was growing up. But just reflecting a little bit more, just beyond that a little bit, in which environment and what was there at the time of Ahmed Deedat. Well, I want to talk to you about 1942, when as a young man in his early 20s, he gave his first lecture on the life of the Prophet Muhammad at Avalon Cinema, as a young man, 21 or something like that, and he gave his talk on the life of the Prophet. At that time, he hadn't quite confronted the Christians, he hadn't quite met their challenges, but his love for the Prophet made him go out into a cinema to deliver a talk, a young man. He paid for the pamphlet himself, he advertised himself, and he called the late A.I. Kaji to chair that session. Why am I saying this? Because had the Christians not been there, Ahmed Deedat would still have been there. He was a fighter. He was a person who was ready to commit himself and to do the work of Dawah. So if the Christian problem was not there, he was still a fighter for Islam. And when I looked at why, and I asked people that knew him why he selected the topic of the life of the Prophet, then I learnt about his father. His father belonged loosely to a group known as Ashiq Rasul, translation of which means the lovers of the Prophet. When I think about those who claim that they love the Prophet today, and think about his father, if you didn't say that you were an Ashiq Rasul, the guy would probably take out his dagger and kill you. They felt so strongly about you being an Ashiq Rasul, the lover of the Prophet. This is the loose term in which Ahmed Deedat's father was committed to, as an Ashiq Rasul. And Ahmed Deedat grew up in the shadow of that philosophy of Ashiq Rasul. We are trying to write something on the life of the Prophet of Ahmed Deedat, and in asking people what they knew about Ahmed Deedat and his early life, I spoke to Fatima Mir, and she told me that Ahmed Deedat's father was a close friend of her father and a regular visitor to their home. And when Ismail Mir, when they were just newly married and Ismail Mir went to prison for the first time, for those of you who don't know Ismail Mir, he's one of the colleagues of our president, ex-president Mandela, very close colleague, one of the original authors and founders of the charter. He wrote it in his own handwriting, he tells me. So when he went to prison for the first time, Ahmed Deedat's father went to console her and to give her support, and told her that if we convert these people, then all the problems will be solved. My point in this is that Ahmed Deedat grew up in an atmosphere where the words of Qur'an, of the Prophet and of Dawah was there, it existed and it was discussed. So Ahmed Deedat grew up in a home where these ideas were discussed at home. Among the people that affected his life were people that most of us don't know. One of the first was Maulana Abdul Alim Siddiqui, the father-in-law of the late Fazlur Rahman Ansari, Ishtiaq Hussain Qureshi, and a strange person who came to our shores by the name of Joseph Perdue. He was a Baha'i, and he used to give classes on Sunday at the Pine Street Madrasa. A lot of the Muslims who were searching used to attend those classes on the Qur'an. There was such a lack of information, of understanding of the Qur'an. It was not there. You got to understand that at the time of Ahmad Deedat's youth, these things were not there. So they had to find people like Joseph Perdue, who was a Baha'i, to tell them something about the Qur'an, and who was one of the first teachers of the Qur'an for them. So, my point in this is that how little there was at that time of Ahmad Deedat when he was growing up, that they had to find inspiration and knowledge from somebody who was from a borrowed faith. And when you see his passion for the Qur'an subsequently, you find that he was able to translate that early years of learning and to say that for the Muslims of the world, they need to have the Qur'an and they need to understand the Qur'an. And I think that more than any other person in this century, he has been passionately promoting and distributing the English translation of the Qur'an. So part of his legacy is that yes, he was concerned about the Christian debates that he had. I'm not reflecting on that too much because you know about it already, but we'll come to it in a minute. But that he was passionate about the Qur'an, and he did so much to present the Qur'an to the world, especially the English translation of the Qur'an. On reflection and looking at the glimpses in his life, when we were growing up, it was a real problem dealing with the Afrikaner. It was not difficult for him to take you off the road, or to get hold of you in some corner and slap you, or to insult you, or to call you coolie or whatever, all those terms. It was very normal for him to do that, to abuse you, to humiliate you. That was the atmosphere in which we grew up. The abuse of the Afrikaner against people and white people generally. And here we find Ahmad Deedat at a time when people are afraid to even talk to these people, standing up on the major platforms, confronting them, not afraid to stand up to them. And believe me, it was an exhilarating experience for all of us that used to attend his lectures, to stand up and to see the white man being defeated in an atmosphere of apartheid, in a time when he was king and you were nothing. Ahmad Deedat stood up like a colossus and he fought for Islam, he presented Islam, he humiliated them, and we all clapped and said Allahu Akbar. These were times when it will be difficult for you to understand what it meant to young people living in apartheid to have somebody like Ahmad Deedat stand up to these people.
Brother Matthews, come man, the platform is yours.
And in standing up to them, he had to test his skill with the best of them. And as you know, they all go through Bible colleges, they all go through institutions of higher learning. They are truly educated people. And one of the things that I had in my notes to tell you is that he was a self-taught man, and you all know that. He didn't have a formal education. He was a self-taught man, but he stood up and challenged those who were professors of theology, bishops, and all kinds of people, highly educated people. And he was able to meet them intellectually and meet them in a way that made them think and reflect about their own faith. One of his greatest legacies is that the Christian world will never be the same again. Every Bible college, every theological seminary in the world has a section devoted to Ahmed Deedat. It has become compulsory reading and compulsory viewing. To graduate from those colleges, you have to study Ahmed Deedat. And the debate that he started off with, and this is his true legacy, they started off calling your religion false, your Qur'an false, your prophet false. They don't do that anymore. You won't see a Christian these days calling your religion false or your Qur'an false. And that is a remarkable achievement, because you've got to understand that they came knocking on our doors. It was in our history textbooks. It was on the radio and in newspapers and in magazines that about your religion being false, your Qur'an being false. But today you don't hear it anymore. Now they have adopted a different approach. Now they are beginning to understand that there is something else in Islam which is beyond their claims of its being false. So they begin to research and find things that they can deal with and the things that they can challenge you with. But it's a whole new ball game. What is important is that the Christian world is beginning to think, and every honest scholar in Christian theology is beginning to say that the questions that Ahmed Deedat has raised are questions that need to be answered. And to answer them means that they are in trouble, because the answers to those questions will lead them to Islam. And that is the great legacy of Ahmed Deedat, that while they may not admit it, they certainly have to deal with it. He has not been the person to bring people closer to Islam in the approach that he adopted. He was meeting an aggression with an aggression. There was an aggression on Muslims. He met the aggression in his way with aggression. You fight me, I fight you back. And that is why people didn't like him. And Muslims said it was disturbing the peace that may exist between, but it was a false peace. But in that way, he was able to deal with the Christian world and to make them start thinking. When we nominated him for the King Faisal Prize, the people that received the nomination asked us a few questions. For example, he is not the leader of a great Islamic movement. He has not converted thousands of people. We don't know him as a great scholar, as an author. What is the purpose? What is the impact? We know that he is popular, but why should he be awarded the King Faisal Prize? And the answer is there in his citation, that he confronted and defeated the worldwide Christian missionary aggression against Islam on the one hand, and he raised the morale of the Muslims on the other hand. The twin things, to meet that aggression and to defeat that aggression, and in the process raise the morale of the Muslims. This was his major contribution, and this is what the citation for his prize said. There are many other things that one needs to reflect on when looking at his life. He was a meticulous person. Meticulous, clean, upright. In whatever he did, he would do it properly. If you worked with him, you know how fussy he was. If he asked you to put up posters, you better make sure that the posters were put up. And if the posters were a little crooked, you were in trouble. He was meticulous in his approach to everything that he did. He prepared well everything that he did. If he had to come and present a talk, he would prepare well for it. The lessons for us. He was absolutely clean in his attire, in his demeanor, in his approach. He was hospitable to a point where you would think that he was a very wealthy man. As students, we used to go to As-Salam, and enjoy his hospitality. And although there wasn't too much, the warmth and the love that he offered, his home was open to us. As young people, we used to go there and enjoy his hospitality. And while I'm at it, in the legacy that we want to remember of Ahmed Deedat, I want to tell you about his wife. The picture of his wife holding a naked black child in the one hand and stirring the pot with the other is a picture that I will never forget. That here was a person who was as equally committed in her own way to Ahmed Deedat and the mission of Ahmed Deedat. He was also an absolutely honest man. Almost up to the day that he got sick. He came with the same tiffin that his wife prepared the lunch for him. He still came to borrow money for the things that he wanted to do at home, up to the end. So you should understand. You should understand that he was absolutely honest. It's not a reflection of other things or other people that were around. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the person that I knew. And if we look at the end of his life and where he started, you find that the fact that we are here today, the fact that so many millions of people all over the world are inspired by him, the fact that so much has happened around him and because of him is nothing but a reflection of his legacy. The time is short and we have a lot to say. What I would ask you to do, please, those of you who have any things on the life of Ahmed Deedat, to please help us to compile something on his life so that we can present it to people all over the world. Lastly, if there is one thing that we have learned, and that is that he provided leadership for Muslims in his own way, and he gave hope to Muslims, and he inspired Muslims. And if that is one of the things that you found at a time when there was so little around, today there is so much around. So in looking at his life, in trying to understand his life, in looking at the legacy, we should look at the things that he has left for us and the things that we need to build on. Jazakallahu khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Ibrahim, for that. The next part of the program is that we will just call out the names of the lecturers who really enriched this course. We were so pleased that all of you could make it to make your contribution to this course, and I think the students appreciated each one of you. When you look at the names that we have chosen, and there are many other people still that we have not fall back onto, you realize how resourceful this community is. It is unbelievable. We have so many resource people. And that you are willing to make a contribution, we really appreciate it. And we appreciate it to the extent we know that we cannot pay you back for what you have contributed. But we will ask Brother Ibrahim to hand you a gift. This gift is a video copy of the lecture that you have delivered.
أفلا يأتي يوم نحيا في حياة إسلامية أفلا يأتي يوم نحيا في حياة إسلامية أفلا يأتي يوم نحيا في حياة إسلامية يهتف كل الكون يغني يهتف كل الكون يغني لا شرقية لا غربية إسلامية إسلامية أفلا يأتي يوم نحيا في حياة إسلامية أفلا يأتي يوم نحيا في حياة إسلامية أفلا يأتي يوم نحيا في حياة إسلامية.
Thank you, Ibrahim, for honoring the lecturers. We really would like to thank you. We don't have words to express our thanks, and we hope, inshallah, that you will avail yourself again, inshallah, for future training programs. There are 3 students I would like to call upon. Each one will just share some of their ideas with us very, very briefly. The first one is Brother Abdurrahman Piri.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. صدق الله. I first thank the organizers of the program, in a sense that we were deeply involved, much in an understanding with the institutes which are available in this country, where they mainly focus to graduate students to suit the Islamic environment only, of which the contemporary part of it is not diverse in understanding other cultural activities and the religious aspects of other disciplines which are available, which becomes the competitor, the main competitor in the role of the spiritual understanding and upbringing of the society of South Africa. Based on that principle, I applaud them and I thank them for that course which they have taken, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may increase their programs in future, inshallah. It is a window in the framework of knowledge, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, read. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Read in the name of thy Lord, that is, in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in reading, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was an illiterate person from the desert of Arabian Peninsula, whereby Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam brought the first message to him to read, of which he did not know, and pertaining to that legacy, which is a prophecy. It's a different context in our understanding today and our approach today. My view is that the lecturers who had prepared very well their lectures, I thank them so much for their input and resourceful academical knowledge they have, which it should carry on as it has been organized by this institute. Furthermore, it is not the purpose that we should collect the certificates only. It is important to collect those pebbles. I think the director here mentioned yesterday that Ahmed Deedat, he had those pebbles which he called them the pebbles of David when he was fighting Goliath. So we have to collect those pebbles and use them resourcefully in our community. I would further say that there are so many other things which we have to learn with the context of this country. How can we take Islam in this country further and deeper into the mountains and the seas and the rivers, closer to our destiny, that we can reach those people who don't know anything about Islam, but they have been given, as it is called, the religion of the truth, to their understanding, which they embrace with all their heart the Christian religion. I think that is our focus. And therefore, also focusing that the youth which we have, that they should be empowered as it can be a resourceful material to them to pursue the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for that purpose, I have to express my thanks, of which I had never attended any institute where it had a diversity in understanding and recognizing the focus in which it has to shape its direction. I thank you so much. Jazakallah.
Thank you, Brother Abdurrahman. I would now ask Sister Fatima Redebe to come and share some of our ideas with us.
Assalamu alaikum for the brothers and sisters, guest speakers and lecturers. It is a great honor for me to be chosen to say a few words on behalf of the student who just completed the course. The IPCI has helped us. Through this course, we have learned so much skills and we were taught how to be confident. And Mr. Fuad said we must be brand names, which means we must see ourselves important and needed. This course has taught us not to give up, no matter how bad things are. We also learned skills to help us cope with the outside world as a Muslim youth. I would like to thank the IPCI, Mr. Fuad, Mrs. Zohra, and all the lecturers which contributed in this course. I assure you all that your time here was not wasted. We all learned something which we will take outside and educate other people. You gave us light, and it's up to us now, the youth, to go and light those dark places. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Fatima, for that short but very inspiring words. I now ask Brother Ibrahim Shabango.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawm Ad-Din, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, ghayril maghdubi alayhim walad-dallin. Respected guests, lecturers, brothers in Islam and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. My dear brothers, it is a great honor for me to be chosen on behalf of the students, to speak on behalf of the students at the IPCI on the program that has been taking place at the IPCI centers. Alhamdulillah, I'm very happy indeed, and I wish that we all should, we've never wasted our time on coming here to listen to this program that is going to take place. So inshallah, I have some few words that I have to tell you. I have some few words to deliver to you. It's all concerning about the studies that was taking place, and on thanking the trustees of the IPCI and so on per se. Inshallah, the Prophet of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi, the Prophet of Allah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Words of wisdom are a lost property of every living being. So wherever you find it, you have a better right to exercise them." So inshallah, due to this hadith, I will be very happy indeed to give you some few words of wisdom. The Prophet of the Al-Amthal al-Arab said, the Arabic proverb says, خذ الحكمة ولو جاءت من أفوان المجانين. Take the words of wisdom, even if it comes from the mouth of a madman or of an insane person. For example, that proverb itself, they say in one incident, Mr. President Mandela and his bodyguards were traveling on the road, and the tire got punched. So they somehow didn't know how to fit it on. Then an insane person came along, was walking around, and he said, "No, you guys, you must just only pick up the car, then you can fit out the..." Right. Inshallah, to proceed. Then another proverb says, A friend in need is a friend indeed. Inna akhaka man asaka. Inna akhaka man asaka. A friend in need is a friend indeed. So inshallah, this proverb can help us, especially we Muslim brothers and sisters and the ummah out there, that a friend in need is a friend. A friend in need is a friend indeed. Whenever you have a problem, you've got a friend. Who is our friend? Is the Qur'an al-Karim. So whenever you have a problem, you go to the Qur'an. You go to the Qur'an, read the Qur'an, then your problems will be resolved. Then furthermore, they say, لا يقعن البحر إلا سابحا, which means you must never throw yourself into a swimming pool if you cannot swim, because you'll drown. So, this proverb also, it's got, this proverb helps us a lot as Muslims. We must go out there, search for knowledge, so then we can come back well-packed, full, strong, and we can fight with the knowledge that we have. Knowledge, al-ilm, there's one hadith which says, al-ilmu nur, knowledge is light. So if you don't have light, how can you fight? It is impossible. So then I proceed. There's one proverb also says, qutila tuirini bihajaratan, which means to kill two birds with one stone. So to kill two birds with one stone, it's something impossible. It is very impossible. You find that there are people who are Muslims on the other side, and on the other side there are something else. I don't want to mention what they are, but there are something else. So we must be aware of this, my dear brothers, to say we must not kill two birds with one stone. We must only one at a time. Okay? Right. Then we go to the fourth one. The fourth one says, never trouble before trouble troubles you, which means لا يعرف الشوكة إلا من تكابده. These proverbs, approximately I've kept it, and I'd like to dedicate it to IPCI. Never troubles before trouble troubles you. And so if you are looking for trouble, so I want to send it out there to those. I want to send it out there to the pastors. I'm sorry to say, per se. I want to send it to the pastors and and to the people out there who don't know Islam. If they want trouble, they must come to IPCI. If they want trouble, they must come to IPCI. Then they will get the trouble, which means never trouble before trouble troubles you. Right. Then the fourth one, it is based on each and every individual which is in this gathering, my dear brothers. It says, Al-aqilu man amsaka lisanahu. A wise man is he who keeps his mouth shut. In other words, in class, it was somehow we were enjoying in class and we were making noise, all those things. But then, inshallah, I think this proverb will help us a lot. On the following section, a wise man is he who keeps his mouth shut. Right. Then the last, or the second one is, madness is in many ways. Al-junun funun. In Arabic, it is said, Al-junun funun. Madness is in many ways. People might see me wearing a kufiya and they say, this guy is mad. Madness is in many ways. Some of the people, their madness is on reading the books each and every day. They are always based. Some of the guys, some of the people is to be punctual in their salats and so on. So we can mention a lot of them, my dear brothers. Right, then the last one is, إِذَا عَزَّ أَخُوكَ فَهُنْ. When your brother goes high, please lower your temperature. Which means, like you find in the houses, somehow, you share somehow some hot words with the brother. So you must always cool down, so that you don't have to fight. So my dear brothers, this is what I have prepared. I would like to thank, Alhamdulillah, through the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would like to thank Islamic Propagation Center International, which is IPCI, on giving us this opportunity to further our knowledge. So my dear brothers, I'd like to say to those students, to my fellow students, we will miss you and we will miss the classes of IPCI, especially the biscuits and some tea. Right. So, my dear brothers, my advice to you is that it is it is a cross over our shoulder to take this forward. It must not end there. We are South Africans, and we are there. I mean, we are South Africans in KwaZulu-Natal. So we all know that KwaZulu-Natal is the only province with the same name. There's no any other province with the same name. So we, as the students, inshallah, we should take this cross. It is over our shoulders. We should take it forward. We should take it forward, inshallah. And I'd like to thank this opportunity. And I wish that the trustees of IPCI and all of us, my dear brothers, may Allah grant us Jannat Firdaus wa akhir dawana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa
rahmatullah. We were very pleased to have Brother Ibrahim with him because, you know, was the first time that we had a member of the Jamiat al-Ulama with us. He is the translator of their books into Zulu. And he made a tremendous contribution in that class. Let me tell you that. Jazakallah, thank you so much. Now we come to just two more parts of the program. I would ask Brother Muhammad Saeed, who established a Dawah organization recently in Zanin. And this organization, alhamdulillah, is already beginning to show that it will make a major contribution in that part of the world. They were very fortunate. Many organizations have to wait for 10, 20, 30, 40 years before Allah sent to them the leaders of the community. Because when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was almost overwhelmed with difficulties, he raised his hands in dua and he said, "Oh Allah, strengthen this faith with one of the two Umars." And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him Umar ibn Khattab. I will ask Brother Muhammad Saeed Bahadur to introduce the next speaker. We have met him in the last few days and he joined us for lunch at Brother Ibrahim's house, and we had some very, very informative exchange of ideas. And he has really awakened in me that belief that South Africa is finally ready for Islam at the leadership level. I will now ask Brother Muhammad to introduce the guest speaker.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the glorious Qur'an, I will only give the gist of the meaning. And if we bring it into our lives, I would say that the paper that Brother Ibrahim had given to you, turn it around and put these points down. We have to live a right life, firm and steadfast, be trustworthy, be good, be just, be pure, restrainers, be merciful, righteous, path seekers. With this paper, you put it at the top of your pocket. The next paper, Brother Fuad, which we are facing difficulties with, the trustees, which people are inflicting at us, who are the dislike ones. And let's take this paper and put it at the back of our pockets. Transgressors, mischief makers, troublemakers, oppressors, rejectors, traitors, arrogant, wasters, liars, arrogant and vainglorious, liars, exceeders. Let us put this at the back of our paper and in the back of our pockets. My brothers, I come from the place called Gauteng. The flag of Islam rises in the Cape, rises in Natal, and we will inshallah raise the flag in Gauteng in the place called Zanin. With your support and the youth we have created today, I advise you that you will be standing here tomorrow, and I will be taking you to Zanin to take the Dawah to Zanin, inshallah. My logo of my company was Rainbow Marketing. Now my company name is Rainbow Dawah. Inshallah, summa inshallah. The company in Zanin invited me to take up this opportunity to do a marketing direction for the company, which is a very big company in Zanin. When I spoke to the chairman of the company, the directors of the company, who is only 28 years of age, and the chairman said, Muhammad Saeed, we need to do a little bit more. I said, what a little bit more? And he paused a little while. And he said, we are not doing enough for Islam. And that changed me. I said, Muhammad Saeed, you are doing work to make people better in their business. Here is an opportunity, and reflect that where do you want to take this road. My brothers, inshallah, summa inshallah, I think I've seen the road of success. As you know, we see that in the road, that the slogan goes that enjoy the ride. This is the ride I want you to enjoy with me. So inshallah, my brothers and sisters, I don't want to take much of your time. The main focus is, brother, that is sitting here with me, Mr. Imran Maliani, who is the centerfold of Islam, inshallah, not only for Natal, for inshallah, to globalize for the world, inshallah. I've experienced with Brother Imran that the few words I will tell you, I don't want to take much of your time because a lot of time has been taken, that the road which he treaded has been a very, very difficult one. But his heart was open to something. Who of us today will look into this? He made 3 things after he came to a very difficult time in his life when everything was down against him. He fasted for 3 days. How many days? 3 days. The first day, he recalled of all the sins that he committed, and he said he spent it, what want to end. Do any of us look into this quality? My brothers and sisters, let's think about this. Very, very important point. The second day, he looked into his life and he seen that how can Allah Pak forgive me for my sins. The third day, which I will tell you a hadith of the dua, what a powerful thing it is. He, Abu Huraira, who was in a state of poverty, that every time people looked at him, he was bending over. And the children thought he was a madman. And his mother used to abuse him and physically beat him. He, Abu Huraira, went to the beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, O Prophet of Allah, the way the people are jeering at me and mocking at me, and my mother dislikes me, today I want you to make a dua that she accepts the kalima, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then Abu Huraira paused for a while, and the Mubarak hands of the beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam lifted up. And at that pace of time, Abu Huraira ran to his mother. To witness one thing, my brothers, this is a lesson for us of dua, the power of dua, that he wanted to see what reaches first. He reaches his mother's house or the dua of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the doors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar. Say Allahu Akbar. Brother Imran, Islam is a journey. Enjoy the ride. Jazakallah for khairan.
In the name of Allah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me say a few remarks off the cuff, or impromptu remarks. I've really learned a lot in the few days that I've been down here. When I came in here and I found succulent food, but really what amazed me is the fact that the audience was fed before the speeches. Now, in my part of the country, where I come from, if you want to make sure that your audience will doze off during your speech, you may not have prepared properly or thoroughly. You just feed them. Then they will slip through the lecture. And whatever faults are there, they won't even detect them. But that is inland. Here it's near the coast. Maybe the breeze from the sea makes it the other way around. There may be wisdom in what we have done. The second one is my brother Muhammad really did me a disservice. He's surprised, he doesn't know why. He knows too well that I have undertaken before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that whenever I go to the mosque on a Friday or address such a respectable gathering, I will not do so without my loin cloth and my turban. And he promised me that he will get me these before I could come here. I didn't succeed. So, may I impose a fine on him right now before you? Brother Muhammad, instead of offering me one loincloth, make it two. Instead of offering me one turban, make it two. And on top of that, there's a cherry on the top. May I have a hijab for my wife? That seals that. Last night I had a crash course in Islamic history in Africa from Brother Isa. Can he just stand up? I saw him. Is he still there? Brother Isa? Just Papa, let them see you, man. Thank you. He gave me a short lecture. But during the lecture, he remarked one thing, that he did make a mistake at one time, and he spoke above the heads of his listeners. And then it was repeated by Brother Ibrahim Jadwed Bia. From my experience as a previous pastor, I'm not a pastor now, I'm a Muslim. Pastors never speak above the heads of their hearers, no matter what point, whether it may be irrelevant or what. They make sure they speak directly to the audience. And when I surveyed the audience, it was a mixed group, academics and ordinary people. but I can handle that properly. So don't be afraid. I won't be using powerful words or terms that you may not understand. But of course, here and there, just to tease the intellectuals, I may do so. Yesterday I was invited to a meal at Brother Ibrahim's place. And it was a wonderful meal, succulent too, They had, the main plate and the side plate on top of the main plate. But somebody put something on the small plate before I could start eating. And what happened is that I went on eating. It was only at the end that I realized I had gone through my meal on the small plate. The main plate was left clean as it was. I don't know if they noticed in the kitchen when they did the work. Young Ibrahim again, the young chap who spoke here. He gave me a shiver. He gave me a shiver when he mentioned carrying the cross. And I said, now, they will confuse him for a Christian. I don't know how you fit that in Islam. When I embraced Islam, I had a cross in the front, the dashboard there. I took that down. Every cross that we had in the house, we took that down. Because we had done away with it. We were Muslims. I wish to thank the Islamic community of Durban for their warm welcome. Not as any person of importance, but as a new member in the fold of Islam. Since I arrived here on Wednesday, I have been absorbing tremendous knowledge on my new way of life. I want to thank all those I came in contact, and finally the people who organized that I should visit the IPCI. Having been received in such a manner, I can sincerely state that my move from Christianity into Islam is to have crossed the Rubicon. There won't be any turning back, or even a desire to do so. My having been singled out and given the respectable platform of guest speaker doesn't in any way imply that I am a big gun or a heavyweight of any description. In fact, it simply adds to my amazement. Why me? This time, for the third time. The situation which prompted me to ask myself that same question, why me, was, how come Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala picked me out in the manner of hand-picking out of so many people, persons of high standing, politicians, academics, businessmen, and the ordinary man in the street. Out of all these people, he picked me up and led me into the path of truth, into Islam. He made me a Muslim. And I asked myself, why me? What is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has seen in me? The second question was, why, O Allah Subhanahu wa ta'ala, have you let me go the road of Christianity for so long? The answer to the above questions is in Surah 6, verse 83. We raise whom we will in degrees. I wish that could be translated in beautiful Arabic. And this referred to Ibrahim, alayhi salam, to whom the Lord appeared in his old age. And if I had to complain, was I greater than Ibrahim, alayhi salam? But I have to complain for a good reason. Ibrahim, alayhi salam, was credited with 100% of good deeds. He was chosen without any precondition, except that of faith. Hence, he is the father of all the believers, including our beloved Rasulullah. And with me, my sins have only been truly forgiven a month ago. My record of good deeds only began, therefore, at that point. Whereas some of you here have been accumulating rewards for good deeds for the past 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, your collection of rewards is perhaps as high as 10 mountains stacked one upon the other. If not so, then I'll ask, why not? I get excited for this accreditation because if you can imagine that one reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worth far more than all the wealth of the world put together. Surely I have a genuine point. You see, I want to qualify for the highest level in paradise, or for at least the middle level. Rasulullah advised us to pray so we can get to those levels. If you get to the lowest level, well, you are still lucky, but it's unfortunate that you couldn't get to the middle level. You know, Rasulullah was really the messenger of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him a better glimpse of the heavenly order which no other person has been granted, not even Musa or Isa, peace be upon them. I'm fascinated. Anyway, oh Imran, how do you qualify for the middle or highest grade when you have come into the world of Islam only yesterday? My next point, of course, is that I am only a toddler in the world of Islam, and my grasp of ideas may still be faulty or misdirected. But in my simple understanding, untainted by intellectual superiority, the hadith of Rasulullah is a thing of beauty. The Quran a splendor of the highest class, even though it is a translation. I wish I can capture the flow of the thoughts in Arabic. Marvel at this one. The grades in paradise which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has reserved for the muhajirin. I suppose I'm pronouncing this correctly. You know, the heroes in jihad. Yeah? Jazakallah. Yes, so 100 grades have been reserved for that group. And the distance between two grades is like the distance between the earth and the lowest heaven. You know, that gave me food for thought. You can't get that in the Christian Bible. They can talk about heaven, but they are not concrete. Now, let's gather all the scientists and astronomers and let them be equipped with the best of their gadgets to work out the distance in kilometers. You know, the best they have come to so far with the latest and best telescopes is that they have detected a galaxy of stars, a group of stars, which is 12 billion light years from the Earth. And they concede that they have only scratched the surface on this subject. Now, if they can't give us a precise answer, then humanity put together does not qualify to peep into the next grade, let alone the 10th grade and the 20th grade, the 50th grade, and the 99th grade. Now listen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, stars are mere ornaments below the lowest heaven. Can't we all say, Allahu Akbar? Please, Islamic scholars, you are not going to present me with conflicting schools of thought and rob me of the marvel of the hadith. I am ready to devour the vast and deep knowledge which is contained in the hadith. I am sure you are aware that I have kept a distance from the Qur'an due to respect. For when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks in the Qur'an, the world quivers and the believers can detect it, except the kufu and the mujrimun, if I pronounce it correctly, except those, because they can't hear it now. But they will hear it on the day of resurrection, and it will not be a gentle vibration, but an earthquake which will render the Richter scale to nothingness. Those who deny the messengership of Rasulullah should note that he holds a senior cabinet post in heaven. Can any prophet intercede on behalf of people already destined for hell? Those who reject Rasulullah with full knowledge of what they are up to have definitely rejected paradise. If only their eyes could be open for them to see where they are heading to, they would perhaps think twice. The trouble is, people whose hearts are sealed, even if they see face to face their destiny, they still don't believe that it is for real. In that regard, I feel I have a duty to go to the man who baptized me, Andre Sprunger. He lives in France. He loves me, and I love him. He calls me his son in Africa. I want to say to him, Dad, you brought me out of paganism into Christianity. That was a step in the right direction. Now, I'm an adult and must be responsible for my parents. I have come to take you a step further into the true religion, into paradise. I'm inviting you to Islam. Please accept Islam and become a Muslim so that when Isa, peace be upon him, comes back, he will accept you. Children brought up in opulence, in wealth, surrounded by wealth, take it for granted, sometimes the point where the luxury they live in can't appeal to them. They get bored. Likewise, individuals brought up in Muslim families all their life may not perceive the other side, which is hell. They may not exactly land up in hell, but they may well be granted the lowest part of paradise. It will be like being accommodated in a 1-star or 2-star hotel, when one could have been offered a 5-star facility. I'm just a newcomer, and any newcomer will be advised not to lecture to his host unwittingly. You really have to be careful. Allah has granted me the opportunity of getting to paradise. Why should I choose hell? And even so, why 1-star when 5-star facility in heavenly terms is within reach? Please, may each one of you make a dua for me. And don't be envious or selfish and say, if I shall make that dua and he gets to the highest level or the middle level and I get to the lowest level, be generous. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is in the heart and mind of us all. My dream, therefore, inshallah, is to get to the highest level in paradise. If my ideas are not quite what you people as expert in Islam, you may find perhaps it's a little bit out of the bounds. It is because I'm learning. But I'm giving myself a year or so, and I should be able to move confidently in the world of Islam. There is none worthy of worship besides Allah, the clement, the bountiful. Glory be to Allah. Lord of the magnificent throne. Praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds. I beg of you the causes entailing your mercy and the purpose of securing your pardon, gains from every righteousness, and safeguard from every sin. Leave no sin of mine unforgiven, no anxiety unrelieved, and no need of mine with which you are pleased unfulfilled. O merciful of those who show mercy. Allahu Akbar.
I would like to just convey this message to Brother Imran, that you have really given such a beautiful conclusion to our program. And this is the beginning of the greater things that we need to do in this country. And I would also like you to meet one of our fathers who has just completed a book on Islam, Brother Dawood Mngwani. He has just finished his book in Zulu on Islam, which the IPCI will be publishing soon, inshallah, after we have revised the manuscript. And that book, inshallah, will also be a great source of inspiration, particularly for the Zulu-speaking people. There is such a powerful message in that, and those who have already read it are already inspired by it, and the manuscript is just making its rounds now. So we would like to thank you, and we would like to thank Brother Muhammad for bringing you to our program, and we hope that all the other Dawah organizations headed by His Muhammadi Islamic Dawah movement, headed by Abdullah Sabela, there are many of the other brothers here. I hope that you would, and Dr. Tutla as well, yes, I hope you would spend time with them at their institutions, because I think that you have so much to give, and I think it can be really a mutual benefit to the da'wah, inshallah. Now the last but not least, the great moment, we want to recognize the students in front of their peers, because we feel that knowledge should always be rewarded.
أفلا يأتي يوم نحيا في حياة إسلامية أفلا يأتي يوم نحيا في حياة إسلامية أفلا يأتي يوم نحيا في حياة إسلامية يهتف كل الكون يغني يهتف كل الكون يغني لا شرقية لا غربية إسلامية إسلامية أفلا يأتي يوم نحيا في حياة إسلامية أفلا يأتي يوم نحيا في حياة إسلامية أفلا يأتي يوم نحيا في حياة إسلامية.
Brother Arun, really, he is a great inspiration in the class.
This is the beginning of the great future, inshallah. I studied my P-Proc law through UDW. I completed my MBA to the Natal University. I studied in speech and drama. I call upon Simone now Pares, who wants to take up Islam. Say Allahu Akbar. Now my brother, Fuad, I would like you to give you the honor of giving her the dawah.
My dear sister, I welcome you to the last and final message to humanity. This is the conclusion of Allah's testament, last testament to humanity. I think that our brother has already explained to you that Islam is a very simple religion, but it is a very profound religion because it is based on La ilaha illallah, that there is no one worthy of worship except Allah. And that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is the last of all the messengers. In the tradition that you come from, you may have accepted only some of the prophets. Now you have to accept all the prophets of Allah, that they all came with a messenger, all came with a message. Our brother Imran related to us a beautiful story the other day, that he went in his search after the truth. He went to see a rabbi, and he thought that that was the message. But then he said to the rabbi, I cannot accept your faith because you do not accept Jesus alayhi salam. I am looking for a faith that accepts Jesus as well as all the other prophets. And when he came to Islam, he said, that is what I finally found. You are ready to declare your faith? Okay. Are you convinced that this is the way? Because it was Muhammad Assad who said to the Christian priest, when they said to him that you will not understand the Trinity unless you believe it first. And he said to them, this is the difference between Islam and Christianity. In Islam, you must first understand and then believe. In Christianity, you must first believe and then you will understand. So you understand this. There is no force on you to accept, right? Because the Qur'an says, like Rafidin, there is no coercion religion. You do it out of your own free will. Then you can simply repeat after me, that I submit, maybe you can come to the mic, that I submit to the one and only God, and I accept that the Holy Prophet Muhammad is the final messenger sent by God to humanity as a whole. Alhamdulillah. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Can I ask Brother Hamza just to make a dua for us for that, please? Can you come up, my dear brother? Please make a dua for us. Please, we will make our Asr Salah on the 4th floor at the IPCI prayer room. And then we will come down for tea, inshallah. I will ask Brother Hamza to conclude with a dua.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الفاتحة الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Oh Allah, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all these people who have gathered all together for the sake of Allah. We thank you for this gathering. We ask Allah to make it bigger, and whatever we have benefited from this gathering through the teachings and experiences, may they be expanded many fold. And may Allah bless us with the deep understanding of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As Allah says in the Qur'an, on the day of judgment there will be no religion that will be accepted of anyone except the deen of Islam. We thank Allah for the deen of Islam, and we thank Allah for the gift of Islam. It is a gift enough. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad al-Fatih lima ughliqa wal khadim lima sabaqa an-nasir al-haqq bil haqq والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.